to become a rabbi.
Wow,
At
that's
least
tough.
not a Talmud of mine. Yeah.
Not one of mine.
Yeah, at
correct.
least not one of mine. Yes. Now, if the rabbi decides that he believes in this student, if he believes that this student can do it, and that he can teach this student to be like him and think like he thinks, then he would say to this student, Lech acharai, come, follow me. And literally it means walk after me. And so at the age of 14, these young students would leave. They would often leave their own villages and go to be with a rabbi, far away. They'd have to leave everything, their families, their synagogue, everything that they knew. And they would go and put themselves under the yoke of this particular rabbi. And you would just devote your life to becoming exactly like your rabbi. So you're walking along, let's say you're walking along following your rabbi, and he reaches down and he breaks off a piece of grass and he puts it between his teeth. Well, you would bend down. You try to do it exactly the same way. Break off a piece of grass, put it between your teeth, exactly like your rabbi. Because you want to do absolutely everything that your rabbi does. You want to study like your rabbi. You want to pray like your rabbi. You want to memorize like your rabbi. You want to walk like your rabbi. You want to talk like your rabbi. You are devoting your life to becoming exactly like your rabbi. There's a saying in the Mishnah, that's another commentary, that kind of pictures that. And it says, may you be covered in the dust of your rabbi. And what that means is may you be so committed to following your rabbi. May you be following him with such chutzpah, such zeal, that you're following so closely behind him that as he walks, you're getting a face full of his dust. May you be covered in the dust of your rabbi.
So the inference there is intimacy with your rabbi, your
yes,
master.
And following so closely, trying to emulate him so perfectly, that you're replicating, yourself in him. And it's a great word picture. So in light of that understanding, now let's go to our Matthew. You opened with our Matthew passage because that's what we're getting to.
4.
So let's go to Matthew 4 and take a look. Get a little bit more understanding now of what's going on here. So I'll read again, Matthew 4:18. And Jesus, walking by the Sea of Galilee, saw 2 brethren, Simon, called Peter, and Andrew, his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishers. And he said unto them, Lech acharai, come, follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. And they straightway left their nets, and they followed him. I want you to notice they immediately
let's stop something here. Let's put a pause here. Let's have a Selah moment. You said earlier that it was the Talmud that asked permission.
Had to approach the rabbi.
It didn't happen in this case.
It didn't, did it? He approached them. So, verse 21 says, going on from thence, he saw 2 other brethren, James, the son of Zebedee, John, his brother, in a ship, with Zebedee their father, mending their nets. And he called them, and immediately they left the ship and their father, and they followed him.
Incredible.
The question is why then? We look at that and we say, why was the action so immediate? And I don't know, Pastor, if you've ever seen some plays where they kind of try to act out this part of the text.
Certainly, yes.
And someone will say, well, why do you follow him? And they'll say, well, I don't know. It's like he has
something about him. There's an aura.
Yeah, like he had some way of mesmerizing them or something. No. This is a rabbi. This is astounding. They have just been called by a rabbi. Like you just mentioned, rabbis don't call you.
Right.
You have to go seeking a rabbi. And Pastor, what were they doing? What were they doing here?
They were fishermen.
They were fishermen. What? They were in the family business.
Correct.
Right? Well, that obviously means they were not the best of the best, right?
Good
Isn't that
point.
why they were in the family business? Because if they could have been a rabbi, they would have.
Good point.
They may have tried.
Wow.
You know. But these are obviously the rejects. Okay, so because by first century
standards. So there's hope for me? Is that what you're saying?
There's hope for all of us. So anyway, here comes this powerful rabbi. And they haven't approached him. He approaches them, and he says to them the words,
Come.
Lechacharai.
Lechacharai.
Come follow me, or come walk after me. And it's like, what? A rabbi called me? A rabbi believes in me? A rabbi thinks that I can do it? A rabbi, he thinks that I have what it takes to be exactly like him? That's astounding.
It is.
And you know, Father Zebedee, he would have been pretty proud about it too. Didn't you ever think about poor Zebedee?
Yeah, what is he going to do with his business now?
Yeah. I always kind of felt sorry for. Did you feel sorry for? I used to feel sorry for.
That's my first thought.
Zebedee,
of course.
you know, all I could see him sitting in the boat, and you felt like the next verse should be, and Father Zebedee files bankruptcy, chapter 11,
Yeah, right.
you know, because the boys left him, you know, in the business. When in fact, just the opposite was true. You know, he would have been so proud. He would have come home that night, you know, Mrs. Zebedee's making supper, and he's like, well, perhaps you've noticed the boys aren't with me. Yes, Zebedee, I've got dinner ready, you know.
Right.
Where are the boys?
Yes.
Well, you'll never believe. A powerful rabbi came and called our boys. She would have screamed, a rabbi called our boys, you know. And then the next day in town, perhaps you've noticed my boys aren't with me.
I'm sure the word got around, huh?
Yeah, so, you know, his status in the community would have been greatly elevated just for that fact alone. So now we've got a few more verses here in Matthew chapter 14 that I'd like to read, and because we're kind of coming to a better understanding of this. Matthew 14:23, I'll start there. And when he had sent the multitudes away, he went up into a mountain apart to pray. And when the evening was come, he was there alone. But the ship was now in the midst of the sea, tossed with waves, for the wind was contrary. And in the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went unto them, walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, It is a spirit. And they cried out in fear. But straightway Jesus spoke unto them, Be of good cheer. It is I. Be not afraid. And Peter answered him and said, Lord, if it be thou, bid me to come to thee on the water. And he said, Come. And when Peter was come up out of the ship, he walked on the water to go to Jesus. But when he saw the wind boisterous, he was afraid. And beginning to sink, he cried, saying, Lord, save me. And immediately Jesus stretched forth his hand and caught him, and said unto him, O thou of little faith, wherefore did you doubt? So first, Pastor, they think it's a ghost, but then the rabbi calls out, It's I. And you know, so Peter says, Well, Rabbi, if it's you, tell me to come to you on the water. Now that you have a better understanding of the rabbinical system, do you see why?
Yes, right. As a Talmud, he wanted to do exactly what his rabbi was doing.
Exactly what his rabbi was doing.
And his rabbi said, well, come.
He said, come. He was walking on the water, so Peter thought, well, that's what he should do.
Certainly.
And so he got out of the boat, and, you know, he did begin walking on the water. And, you know, got distracted, we know, by the wind and the waves and everything that was going on. Like you could walk on water on a clear day. Like you could walk